Content Creation Podcast. Today I'm joined with Jorin, creator of Zoe Reborn. So welcome, Jorin, and thank you for having us here in your very impressive set of Zoe Reborn and just how beautiful and intricate. So thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate that. We worked really hard on it.
Yeah, it shows, and it's very beautiful. Even just the walkthrough that you showed me, wow, it was spectacular, and I'm impressed on how big of a space it is and how much you utilize every aspect of it. Usually, in big escape rooms, like they have so much, there's also so much dead space. And so I love how just every aspect of the room was used. So super impressive.
No, thank you so much. Yeah, we used as much of it as we possibly could. Literally the only thing we didn't use is like the bathroom.
Right.
Every other space is being used for some sort of escape room, aspects.
Right. Well, can you kind of tell us, before we jump into the creativity side of what went into Zoe Reborn, can you talk to us about your just escape room endeavor, right? Kind of what got you into escape rooms to begin with as a player?
Yeah, it's a long time ago. But no, I had some friends and they hit me up to go and play an escape room. I didn't know what it was. So I was like, sure, whatever, let's go do it. And we played our first escape room. And as soon as we finished, we'd won, and as soon as we finished, we got that thrill. We literally looked up our next one, and then we started just doing more and more. And then one day, one of my buddies couldn't go, so I invited my wife to come and play with us, like in his place, since we already bought the ticket. And then she played, and then she was hooked on it. So we started playing a lot of escape rooms, to include the original Zoe. Back right before COVID, we had played, and so we just started playing a lot of escape rooms.
Right.
And then. Eventually, my wife got the opportunity to work at the original Zoe, probably about a year and a half or 2 years ago. And so she started working there, and she was really enjoying it. I had a full-time job at the time, but she still had me come in quite a lot to fix some things and to run some games and stuff just in case they needed help, because sometimes they needed help. So I would go and do that in my free time. And then eventually she became the manager over there, and she was like, I can employ you. I can actually pay you for being here.
Right.
She's like, but you have to act. And I was just like, oh no,
Right.
I don't want to act. I'm not very good at acting. But I did okay. But so then we were both working there at the time. And then this last March, we got an opportunity to purchase the original Zoe. And so we ended up doing that. And with the help of our business partner, David, we were able to purchase that, move over here and build this monstrosity, this massive escape room, and so we did, and so that's the big journey that we've been on, and it's been pretty cool. It's been a cool run.
Yeah, awesome. So then, in your journey, kind of before you, I guess at that point became escape room owners, how many escape rooms were you in?
Oh, wow. 120, 130 probably.
Okay.
Now I'm probably sitting closer to 200.
Wow.
So I've done, it didn't stop. I just kept doing them.
No, yeah, that passion is still there. Yeah. That's awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
So then what, I guess, I don't want to say convinced you, but what made you decide, or made you and your wife decide, hey, like, maybe we can do this. Like, let's try it out.
Well, we always wanted, after doing, probably once we got to like 60 or 70 escape rooms, we were like, let's open our own.
Right.
And I've met a lot of people who play escape rooms who have that same like desire to want to open one.
Yeah.
And so we looked into it a few times and how much it would cost and what it would take and all the different details of it. Looking at, they have pre-builts that you can buy, or do we build our own? We went through a lot of that stuff well before she even worked at the original site. I mean, this is like a long time ago.
Yeah.
And so we thought it would be cool to work at one because that would be fun. And I had a full-time job that paid the bills anyway, so you might as well have the fun job too. Right. And so when the opportunity came up, it was just crazy. I mean, we didn't even think that would fall in our laps, but it kind of did. And it was always a want of ours, but it's not super cheap. So we're like, well, I mean, how can I get this done? And thankfully, David, who owns Escape Room Era, was able to come in and work with us, and making that a possibility. I mean, that's really what it was. It was definitely a gift to be able to have someone in the industry want to work with us and build this escape room with us, and work hard on it. So it's been pretty cool.
Right. Yeah. So moving into the creativity side of it, how can you kind of walk us through on how it was like going from, because this is significantly bigger, right, from the original Zoe. So kind of what made you decide on what you want to bring from the original to, hey, let's try this out and let's build something new or try something different?
My wife came up with a lot of it. My wife worked very hard. I'm sorry she couldn't be here. She's not feeling good,
Okay.
but she worked very hard on it. She's done a lot of years in scare acting. She's worked for Scary Farm and things like that. And she's definitely got to know some of the uppers there to have some input on a couple things. So she definitely has that creative mind on the horror aspect of it. But being that we were able to make a sequel of the original Zoe game, there was a couple things that were able to fall into place pretty easily as far as design. Like the original had a living room, the original had a Zoe bedroom, and so we were able to bring that stuff over and then just alter it to be the new version. So like right now we're sitting in the living room. Before we had a living room, this one looks obviously a bit different, but we still had that base concept to go with, which was actually kind of nice. But from there, everything else has changed and we've expanded. And the original had 5 rooms. This has 10 rooms, and so we've come up with so many differences and variations in the game. I don't know where my wife gets all of it from. I have no idea.
Right.
She's the mind. I just build the stuff. So
Okay.
she definitely has had a lot of really good ideas. I mean, we're talking like thousands of ideas. I had to sift through them and get all the good ones out and build exactly what she was hoping for and
Right.
wanting. So this escape room, this final design is like 10 designs deep. I mean, my wife was on pen and paper drawing out different ones. When we got the space, there were some bits and pieces of cubicle left over. So these little railings, she was laying them all out in different patterns and different orders and trying to like kind of see what the rooms she wanted to look like. We used tape to like lay them out like before we did anything.
Right.
And so it took her a few iterations to finally settle on this one. But she and I, we're all very happy with how it turned out.
Yeah.
Very happy.
Yeah, for sure. So then, as the I guess creative builder aspect of it, can you kind of walk us through just your creative process on, how it came to be?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any carpentry experience or anything like that. I
Right.
mean, I've worked in warehouses and stuff, but I've
Right.
never done that. I had my dad come in. He's a bit of a handyman, and he kind of helped me on a couple of these walls, figure out the framing and like how to do it.
Right.
And then after that, it was pretty much just me copying that and doing it over and over again on all the different walls.
Yeah.
I watched a couple of YouTube videos on how to put up drywall,
Right.
and basic
Right.
stuff like that. And then after that, it was kind of just figuring it out as you go.
Yeah.
I showed you a diagram earlier of the maze that we have in here that people have to go through and crawl through.
Yeah.
And that maze, I literally laid it out with tape and I figured out how to cut the wood pieces to make the shape that I wanted. And it was really just kind of just winging it most of the time.
Okay.
But it was, winging it with the sense of like, I know how to build it, but how do I want it to look when I'm done? So, and that there was a stage in the last room, and I built that from nothing as well. And it's really just taking what I've learned and just applying it in a different shape and a different size. And it's pretty sturdy. It's pretty strong.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then, when creating puzzles, right? You mentioned earlier that there's, quite a lot of escape rooms out there, and it's really, I don't want to say easy, but it's common, I guess, more of finding a similar puzzle with maybe a different iteration, right?
Yeah.
And so, as a builder and as an escape room creator, how can you, I guess, implement those puzzles? Because obviously, it's a puzzle that you really like, right? And just make it your own to where it can fit your story.
I don't know. That's a really tough question because doing so many escape rooms, you do see a lot of similar puzzles, where you walk into an escape room, you're like, oh, I know how to solve this puzzle. I've done this puzzle 17 times. For us, some of our puzzles are like that, where you might see something where you're like, oh, like this isn't super difficult. And I think that our game progressively gets harder as you go. Like our first puzzle's pretty easy in my opinion, and it gets a little bit harder from there. For us to be able to come up with them, it's trial and error. We know that the theme of our escape room and what falls into the theme. We have a room with morgue doors on it because this is a room, it's a house and there's dead bodies and stuff. So we made a morgue room, and so we put some morgue doors up on the wall. And then again, my wife came up with a puzzle that related to those morgue doors, just with numbers and arrows and different things. And I've seen similar puzzles to it, but it's unique in its own way because I've never seen it on morgue doors before. And it definitely, when you're in here, it is a high intensity
Yeah.
situation. So even the most basic puzzle is pretty hard to solve
Right.
because of the stress factor.
Right.
So our puzzles aren't necessarily super complicated, and I don't think all of them are like the most unique thing you've ever seen in the world,
Mm.
but they are unique in general. There are our own iteration of these puzzles,
Right.
and we have adjusted them enough to make sure that everyone's able to solve them and finish our game, because
Yeah.
that's important for us as well. As we want to
Yeah.
make sure everyone finishes.
Yeah.
We don't. We would prefer you finish the game than to quit or to
Yeah.
fail,
Right.
because I didn't build the whole place, so people only saw some of it. I
Right.
want everyone
Right.
to experience the entire experience. I want everyone
Right.
to see everything. I want them to enjoy the entire thing and be at the end at the back lobby and be like,
Right.
that was super cool, you know.
Right.
So that's been important for us. The puzzles are there. We've changed them a lot. We're actually going to be going through another change of puzzles as soon as, because right now we're doing Krampus.
Mhm.
That'll be ending beginning of January. I think the 7th is the last day for that. And then we're closing down for a couple days, and I'll be switching out puzzles again.
Right.
So we're constantly changing and coming up with new ideas pretty much all the time.
Right.
It's literally just random thoughts like, hey, what if I did this?
Yeah.
And then I just do it because I can. So
Right. I like that. Yeah.
I could just change it. Like you could
Right?
come today and come tomorrow, and I could change the puzzle and
Exactly.
be like, oh, it's new.
Yeah.
Like at least one of them, you know. I
Right.
could just come in one morning and be like, I had this really good idea last night, and I just go change it.
Yeah.
And so it's been nice to have that kind of freedom as well,
Right.
because we have customers who come back all the time.
Yeah.
I've had customers been here 3, 4, 5 times already.
Wow.
They've
That's
tried
awesome.
the regular version, the October version, the Krampus version. They came back again for the regular. Like they've
Right.
been
That's
here
amazing.
a lot, and
Yeah.
we have some very loyal customers. But pretty much every time they've been coming, there's something new that they haven't
Right.
experienced before. So it's been nice to be able to switch up those puzzles, because they'll be like, "That wasn't here last time," and I'd be
Right.
like, "You're right, I changed
Right.
it.
Right. Yeah.
Just for you, I changed it."
Right.
No, but it's been cool. Yeah, we'll throw puzzles in randomly, or take puzzles out, or switch them up, or whatever. It's totally random. We've all come up with puzzles. David has, my wife Christina has, I have. It just depends on the day and if we feel like changing something
Yeah.
up. I mean, it's really really random.
Right. Right. And so then, as a creator, much more, an escape room creator, is there, you think, an end goal of okay, or not an end goal, but kind of like a milestone of okay, this is, I don't know, not everything I want it to be, but this is where I want it to be. It's here. I think we're good. Let's leave it, and not necessarily like set it and forget it, but kind of like let's move on to the next project or that type of thing.
Right. Well, we do have plans for more projects.
Right.
We have plans for other escape rooms. We have plans with David. We were talking about potentially putting a second escape room here at this location, in a different unit that might be opening up soon. We have plans all over the place to do different things. There are always going to be plans for more escape rooms to be built by us. But this escape room is not going to ever become stagnant.
Okay.
We do not plan. I know I've played lots of escape rooms, and I've gone back and replayed escape rooms, like with my employees and stuff who hadn't played them. And there's a lot of times where you'll go back and be like, "Oh, I remember this puzzle. I've done this. I've seen this before. I've done it
Right.
before." Zoe's been open since August, so 5-6 months.
Yeah.
I've changed my puzzles 3 or 4 times now,
Right.
and I plan on continuing that pattern and that pace.
Right.
Because people come back for the scares. They do.
Yeah.
They really enjoy being
Yeah.
scared all year long. But if I can give them something new to look forward to every single time, then that's what I'm going to continue to do. Probably every 3-4 months, I'm going to go in and change puzzles. I mean, I have no reason not to, and there's nothing stopping me.
Exactly.
And there's nothing stopping any escape room to do that.
Yeah.
So for me, I do have more projects I want to work on. Like I might start building very soon at building another escape room.
Yeah.
But during that build, I might come back over here real quick and just go change a puzzle real fast, because I'm like, oh, this would be a better fit for this escape room instead of the one I'm building. So there's never going to be like a downtime for here. It is always going to be a very proactive project for me.
Right.
This is going to be like the biggest project I'll ever have, and it's going to be never ending.
Right. Right. And I appreciate that as a player, especially, when you gain new, I guess, escape room friends, right? Or, you're like, hey, let's do an escape room. They end up loving it. And you're like, okay, what are the best I can take them to? And, most of the times it's, I take them to the room. It's like, okay, I've already done this. Like, oh, yeah, I remember that. Like, it was a year ago, but I still remember how to do this. And so you kind of step back and just watch everybody do it. And you're like, oh, yeah, good for you. Like, yeah, I still had fun, because it was a great room. But much more that, creators as yourself going in and being like, hey, okay, what can I do? What can I change? Let's do it. And taking that initiative of like, okay, how can we ensure that if a person were to play again, right, that there's something different to where it can even just captivate the person that's done it multiple times, right? Like where they
Exactly.
can say, like you mentioned, oh, you added that, like that's really cool, right? And so you mentioned something earlier that escape room creators that kind of will make it not difficult and maybe not to where it's impossible, but to where it's like, oh, you didn't solve it. Like, okay, you're done right here. Right. Not
Yeah.
that they push you through either. Right.
Yeah.
But they're just kind of like, you're on your own. I'm going to help you as little as possible in order to kind of get that customer to come back. Like, oh, like, I've heard stories of people going to an escape room and the creator or the game master just not helping them at all, and for them to come in and be like, oh yeah, you didn't finish, you ended up dying, whatever, but you have 3 or 4 more rooms, and like, oh crap, I guess I got to come back and do it.
Right.
Come to find out they only have like
2
one more
puzzles or
puzzle,
something.
2 more
Yeah.
puzzles, exactly. So what are your thoughts on just kind of like, I don't know, escape rooms that, I don't want to say purposely do that, but intentionally?
Well, I understand both sides of the argument,
Right.
and for us, we chose the one side of letting people finish.
Yeah.
But I understand that people are here to play a game, and at the end of the day, most games you either win or you lose.
Yeah.
And it's all on your own. And
Right.
there are games that you can play where they say, "Hey, you can ask for a hint whenever you want. You get 3 hints or
Mhm.
unlimited hints or whatever, but you have to ask for them." And I know that some people, like myself, I don't ask for clues. It's a pride thing, right?
Right.
And so you'll sit there with your pride and be like, I'm not going to ask for a hint, or I guess I'll ask for one, but I don't want any more. Um, and then what tends to happen is, if you ever have a game where you don't finish, I feel like you feel more defeated and
Mhm.
upset. And I don't think I would pay another ticket price
Right.
to finish 2 more puzzles. Like, I'm not going to go through everything I just went through to
Right.
do 2 more puzzles
Right.
for another ticket.
Right.
For us, our guys are here and they do help you throughout the game, but it's a very immersive, interactive type experience where I've had customers be like, "Oh my god, I'm so scared," and my actor on the walkie-talkies, or the game master's like, "Yeah, me too. I'm terrified. We got to get you guys out of here." And it's
Right.
like they're sitting in a well-lit office laughing
Right.
at the cameras.
Right.
They are not scared at all,
Right.
but they're there to have an experience with a customer and make sure that they feel accomplished at the end
Yeah.
of the day.
Yeah.
If it takes those slight, not super obvious nudges in the right
Right.
direction, that's sometimes what it takes.
Right.
And our clues are based on, like, they start out very vague and then
Mhm.
they start to get a little more specific
Yeah.
the longer you take.
Yeah.
Um, so like one of our clues, which is for this puzzle behind the camera, would be like, "Oh, the chains on the wall." Like, for right now, it's Krampus. The chains on the wall. They were there to lock up Krampus. Clearly, it didn't work because they're not holding him anymore.
Right.
That doesn't tell you anything, but it tells you to look in that direction.
Right. Yeah.
And so it kind of steers the game from there.
Yeah.
And they give that kind of clue where it's pretty vague, but it might kind of give you like a little bit of a story, but it's
Right.
also a little bit of pointing you in the right direction.
Right.
And so we want to make sure that everyone can complete the game. And so some groups need a little bit of help, some groups need no help, some groups need a lot of help,
Right.
and it just depends. And we understand all types of customers, but we want them all to feel accomplished and happy at the end of the game, being like, "I'm so glad I finished.
Yeah.
That was crazy. That's the craziest thing I've ever done. I finished
Right.
it. We won. We beat it."
Right.
I'm like, "Yeah, you won. You guys did it." And
Yeah.
they're like, "Oh, thank God. That was so crazy."
Right.
Instead of coming out and being like, going into the room,
Mhm.
halfway through and being like, "Sorry guys, you're out of time.
Right.
Got to come back next time." They'd be
Yeah.
like, "Dude, like, how much was left?" I'd be like, "Oh, you were 1 room away." They'd be
Yeah.
like, you'd be so disappointed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I don't want people to be disappointed. I want people to have had the best time they could possibly have. Get scared
Yeah.
horribly, cry a little. It's okay.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, when they get to that back lobby, even my most terrified customers, once they get to the end, are like, "That was cool.
Yeah.
That was cool. I need to tell my friends. I need to
Yeah.
I'm going to bring my brother, my mom. I'm going to bring
Right.
my friend, whatever." Like, and we get a lot of customers who come back. Last night, we had a customer come back. They played our October, which is our most extreme version.
Mhm.
Just to come back and play Krampus, and they had so much fun.
Right.
And they brought a couple new people who hadn't.
Right.
One of them had never played an escape room before, and I was like, "This
You
is
brought
not
up
the
this
play."
one? Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, "This may not have been a good first one." It's definitely shocking. But at the end of the game, even that guy was like, "Wow."
Right.
He's like, "I don't know if I could find one to top this." And I'm like,
Right.
I was like, "There's a lot of really good escape rooms out there, so definitely keep playing them. I can give you some suggestions." But I was like, but yeah, it's like, this is its own ballpark.
Yeah.
My favorite room isn't even a scary room. So
Mhm.
I was like, they're not all scary. I promise you.
Right.
It's just keep playing, keep
Yeah.
going. And then I've had some customers who they had a good time, and don't get me wrong, they had a really fun time. But then they're like, I don't know, scary might not be for me. And I'd be
Right.
like, that's totally fine. Most of them aren't scary. I
Right.
was like, go, play these ones. I'll hand them flyers, or I'll
Yeah.
tell them about, different things, and then like, all right, go play these ones. These ones will be probably more your speed. And then,
Yeah.
but they're all really fantastic games. I was like, they just don't want scary, and I'm like, that's okay. I was like,
Right.
that's fine. I was like, for
Right.
me, when I play, I prefer an actor to come get me, but everybody has their preferences. So, but yeah, I get both sides of the argument of
Yeah.
finishing, not finishing. Um, for us, we just chose to let everyone finish, just because, in our opinion, we feel like feeling accomplished is more important,
Yeah.
than being like, oh, come back and play again. I already have people come back to play again because they had such a good
Right.
time. I
Exactly.
don't want to have them come back and play again because they've feel like they failed.
Yeah.
So that's our reasoning behind it.
Right. And so, as an owner, then you mentioned something earlier of even asking for a hint or getting a nudge or getting a clue. Did you purposely then, 'cause even the example that you gave of, hey, like the chains didn't hold Krampus,
Mhm.
as opposed to just being like, look over there, right? Did you intentionally kind of, I don't know, train or tell your game masters like, hey, like don't just blatantly be like, oh, look over here, look under there, do this, do that, and as opposed to like, hey, like let's make sure that it's immersed with the story, even just giving a simple
It
hint,
is,
right?
yeah. No, all my game masters are in character during the game.
Right.
When you get greeted outside, obviously we're going over the rules, we're
Yeah.
letting you use the bathroom, we're
Yeah.
talking, we're just,
Yeah.
we're normal.
Yeah.
But as soon as you step into the escape room, there is no more just people. We're
Right.
all investigators or
Right.
whatever, right?
Right.
So my game masters are always talking about it in story. There's always everything in theme. Um, Very rarely will you hear them just say something.
Right.
Usually that's when someone's breaking a rule and breaking
Mm,
something or
mm-hmm.
damaging
Yeah.
something. We'll
Yeah.
be like, hey, knock that off.
Right.
But
Exactly.
but outside of that, every clue and hint and nudge that they get is all in character.
Yeah.
And our game masters are very good at reading their groups, and understanding what their group's needs are
Right.
for the game. Some of them like to use comedic relief with some of their groups, because that group responds well to it.
Yeah.
Some of them, they're acting scared the whole time. So it just depends. I mean, my game masters are very good at what they do,
Right.
when it comes to reading groups and giving them in theme clues and hints
Yeah.
to make sure that it's all story based. There's no like, hey, did you try 1, 2, 3, 4 in that lock? Like,
Right. Yeah.
that's kind of too on the nose.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas we keep very vague. In Zoe's bedroom, they'll be like, I think Zoe left a journal in there for you to find, and make sure you read through that. My notes here from the last group said that there was a journal. There's
Right.
no notes from the last group. There's
Right.
nothing. They're just
Right.
there to help you while in theme, and in
Right.
character. So it's always that way.
Yeah. So then, as a player, and even more so as a creator, how important then is it to make sure that everything is kind of staying within that immersion, right? Especially in a setting where so many people are involved, and it's very crucial in order to keep that just immersiveness for the players.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. It's a lot of work. It's a lot. It's a lot. We have a lot of moving parts.
yeah.
And like yesterday, we did. Even though we were a 100-minute game, I started groups every hour, so I have lots of moving parts. I have two
Right.
games going at the same time in this building, and they never run into each other. They don't see each other. They don't hear each other. There might be one spot where they might hear a scream across the way, but other than that, they don't interact at all. And so I have multiple actors, multiple game masters running games at the same time.
Right.
I'm running back and forth to make sure everything's running smoothly. On our end, it is chaos, but on the customer side, you'd have no idea.
Right.
Our guys are very in character all the time,
Yeah.
very immersive. Right now, we're doing Krampus, and our Krampus character doesn't speak because he's the beast.
Yeah.
Reality is he has a full mask, and it would muffle his voice anyway.
Yeah.
But our Uncle Robert and Zoe characters are able to speak because they're not obstructed.
Right.
So they're able to talk and interact, and they're always in character, barring an emergency. My Uncle Roberts that I have, they will talk to you the whole game. They will mess with you, antagonize you, whatever it is that they need to do, but they are always in character, and they're improvising 95% of
Right.
it. They have some set lines that they say. I don't give lines. I give guidelines of like, hey, like
Okay.
we're just staying in this. This is like where we need you to be. What you say is up to you.
Right.
But a lot of them, they've done hundreds of games, so they
Yeah.
tend to say the same things in certain areas.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of improv too, because you never know what a customer's going to say to you
Exactly. Right.
in a live performance. Because that's what it is. It's a live performance.
Right.
It's a theatrical performance, and
Yeah.
anything can happen when you have customers who don't have lines and are going to
Right.
say whatever they say.
Right.
And so they're very good at it. They're very good at being that immersive experience all the way to the end,
Right.
even to the point where guests will exit the game at the back and go into the lobby. And sometimes the game master's on their way, but they're not there yet or whatever.
Right.
So the actor will greet them as soon as the game's over,
Yeah.
and the actor will walk into the room, and then the guests will scream, and then they take
Right.
the mask off and be like, "Good job, everybody."
Right. Right.
They're that good at it that the guests are still scared. I've had
Yeah.
times as the game master, I've gone to the back, I'm talking to the group, whatever. The door swings open, actors just standing there in the costume. They start screaming again. I'm like, dude, the game's over. It's and then he takes off his mask. He's like, hey, everybody.
Right.
They're that good at it,
Yeah.
and we appreciate the whole staff that we have because they're all very good at what they do.
Right.
We've hired some very, very good people, and we're very happy to have them.
Right. So then as a puzzle creator, then how do you ensure that not just the actors, but also the puzzles or tasks, flow with that immersion throughout the story?
Testing, practice. When we were beta testing before we opened, we had a couple puzzles that were a lot more extensive than they are now. We had to simplify them based on the fact of the speed that it would slow, how much it would slow down the groups.
Right.
Because some of the puzzles, like I said, are not necessarily the hardest puzzles you ever find, but when you have to go somewhere you don't want to go because you know the actor's there, that makes it a lot more difficult, and people
Right.
really have to muster up the courage to go do some of these tasks.
Right.
So we've definitely trial and error,
Yeah.
a lot of practice. My wife and I have never owned an escape room before. All we did was just run Zoe the way it's always been run.
Yeah.
So we really had to go through this and test it a lot, and practice, bring our friends, bring our families to come play the game. Mess with them a whole bunch, but really it's watching the timing and the flow of the game. We had to really adjust a few puzzles to make sure that guests are able to finish, because we want them to finish already,
Right.
but I don't want to give them a puzzle that's going to take half their time because they're
Right.
scared. So we simplified a lot of puzzles. We made them a lot easier. I have a couple puzzles in the game that I can remove halfway through the game if I feel like we need to, that are not necessarily the most crucial puzzles. They're
Right.
just there to add more puzzles to the game.
Yeah.
But with some of our groups that are less experienced than other groups, sometimes to try to ensure that they finish within that 100 minutes, we might go through and take one or two out just to help them out.
Right.
And they're very basic, simple puzzles that aren't storyline puzzles. There's nothing super crazy. It's there's something hiding in a box, and instead of hiding in the box, we have it just available to them.
Right.
It's not a very crucial change. It's a very simple puzzle, but it does save us 5 to 10 minutes if that's what we need to save, just to ensure that they finish.
Right.
And it's, you would never feel like you're missing out on something. You'd be like, well, I never messed you. I got this key and it didn't do anything. Like, it's never like that. It's always, we take out every aspect of it. You wouldn't even know the puzzle existed,
Right.
if you
Right.
didn't know it was there. Like, if you didn't know, you wouldn't know.
Right. Exactly.
And so we've had to do that to make sure that the flow stays on course.
Yeah.
We know based on what room you're in, how long it should take, and at what time marker you should be out of that room.
Right.
If you're ahead of that time marker, we tend to help you a little less. If you're behind on that time marker, we will tend to help you out just a little bit more.
Right.
But still in that vague
Right.
storyline way.
Right. So then, the escape room industry is kind of not evolving, but adapting to the new technology, AI, this and that. I've noticed that a lot of creators are kind of leaning, not that there's a huge difference between escape room and immersive theater, but just towards more of, as opposed to a bunch of puzzles, maybe more like task based.
Yeah.
Right. And so, would you classify then Zoe Reborn more, because obviously you're interacting with actors, right? You're going along this amazing set and going with the story. And so, where would you kind of put Zoe Reborn? Again, not saying to the listeners that there's a huge difference, but just on the aspect of, should I expect like a room with 20, 30, 40, whatever, puzzles, or no, I have to go along with this.
I think it's a good mixture of both, honestly. We think we've gone back and forth about that too. We think it's a good mixture of both, because there is the immersive theater aspect of, there are actors, they are going to come after you. You do have to hide from them. They're going to drag you out from under this table. I mean, they're going to do things, right? But there are still puzzles in every single room that you have to solve. There's never a time you're going to get to a room and not do something. The only room that is the finale, because our actor's on the stage doing his final speech, and then you're out. But that's the only room without a puzzle. Every room has 1 to 2 to 4 puzzles in it, just depending on which room you're talking about. So there's always something to be doing. So I think it's a good mixture of both. I think we've nailed that down. We have some plans in the future for some different things that might be a little bit different on that scale, but the current Zoe Reborn game and Krampus are exactly that. I mean, they're a good mixture because they have both the theater aspect and the puzzles aspect. There's not, like I said, there's not a room where you're not solving something. Even if it's rather simple with the lights on, as soon as I turn the lights off and add someone in there, you're not going to solve it very quickly. One of the ones that they have to do involves them, once they're in the next room over back here, they have to come back out into this room where my actor's waiting for them. And they know the actor's waiting for them. And that takes a lot of courage. But it is also still part of a puzzle. So it's really a mixture of both, just that one aspect. They have to come out here for a puzzle piece that they need, but there's also an actor. And so they're like, they have to stay hidden. They get a candle. They have to make sure they turn it off. They have to stay quiet. They have to sneak around. My actors pretty much always can see them, but we only react, appropriately. Like if the candle's on or whatever. Like, yes, we can always see and hear you. Everyone is very loud in the dark. People who think they're sneaking around are breathing so loudly that anybody could hear them. But my actors, again, being in the immersive sense, they leave them alone until they break a rule. If they turn that candle on and they see it, they're going to go straight for you because they're attracted to it, and there's a lot of stuff. So I think we've nailed it right in the middle of getting storyline and theater aspect of like, hey, there's a whole story to this. There's a whole thing going on. And hey, you still have to solve like a lot of puzzles while you're in here. I think we're somewhere around like 16 or 17 puzzles in here, which is pretty good, especially when you're busy getting dragged away and messed with for 100 minutes straight.
Right. And so can you kind of walk us through your creative process as far as the story, right? Because even then, going from Zoe to Zoe Reborn, which, is a much grander scale, right, in reality, and not just the space of it wise or how many rooms there are, how many puzzles, but even just, that story of, okay, this is what we want. This is how we want our players to interact with the story.
The original story, I can tell you the stories if you would like it. The original story at the original Zoe location was that you heard that Uncle Robert, the main character in the game, his niece Zoe had passed away, and he was trying to bring her back using science, and it wasn't working. And so he turned to dark magic, which obviously is the logical next step.
Of course.
So he turned to dark magic. He tried to bring her back. He was only able to put her soul into a doll. But then he trapped the doll in his house and he wouldn't let it go. And so they thought that was really cruel. So they sent some people to go like rescue Zoe because like, why would he do that? What an evil dude. And so you go in the house and you get through the entire thing. And at the very end, you find Zoe trapped in that cage and you eventually free her from the cage. But as soon as you did, a voiceover would come on and say, "Fools, you've released me from my prison." And you realize he didn't bring his niece back. It was a demon that he had trapped and was like trying to protect everyone from. So he's not really like that bad of a guy. He was trying to kill you, but like it was to save other people. So like he's not that bad.
Of course.
But then you realize you released a demon, and that's how the game ended. You ran out of the house at that point. And so that was it. It was like you won, but like, did you win? You kind of doomed everyone. So that's how that game ended. This game starts in the traditional regular game, the year-round game, not the Krampus. But the year-round game, you find out it's been 20 years since then. Uncle Robert was tortured by Zoe for a really long time, 15, 16, 17 years of torture, because he kind of put a demon in a cage. They tend to get angry about that. So eventually he passes away, though. He's old. He's an old dude. In the last one, he ends up dying. And he's been gone for a little while, but the house still has Zoe in it. And so our company, who sent in the first team all those years ago, got called in again to deal with Zoe, since we're really good at dealing with Zoe, obviously. We have so much experience with it. And so we tell groups that we had sent in a team right before them to go take care of it. And they found a Ouija board out in the open, and they thought it'd be a good idea to contact Zoe and try to get her back in that cage. And obviously it was a trap. And as soon as they touched the Ouija board, it brings Uncle Robert back from the dead. And he's more angry than he's ever been because he was finally at peace and away from being tortured. And now he's back in the house with Zoe getting tortured. So obviously now he's back in the game. He's angry. He's more aggressive than he was before. All those features. Zoe's still a character in the game as well, so she's always coming after you too. And in this game, you'd have to play it to figure out what happens at the end of the game. But that's how the game starts. Is you find out Uncle Robert's back. He's not human anymore, right? He's whatever he is.
Right.
Because in the original game, he was just a guy. He was a
Yeah.
human. Now he's not. And so he's come back. He's stronger than before because when you're not human, you're big and strong, I guess. Zoe's still around. I mean, you got a lot of things going on. At the end of our game has a nice little twist at the end. So you'd have to figure that out as you go. But there's a whole story to it. It was nice having a good basis to start off with for us to create a chapter 2. We didn't have to come up with chapter 1, thankfully. But chapter 1 gave us so much to go off of that it was pretty easy to transfer into a chapter 2 and do just extend it and just keep it going. My wife's pretty creative on that. We have a friend who's literally in school for creative journalism. Awesome. So they were able to help us out with a couple ideas as well, and coming up with what's going on next. Like, what should we do next? How should we end it? How should we do these things? And then the Krampus one, which we're doing now, is you get a one-night truce with Zoe because Krampus is a bigger problem. So you, enemy of my enemy is my friend thing with Zoe. So you get to work with Zoe to take down Krampus for a day. But don't get comfortable because she'll try to kill you tomorrow. But that's how this game works. So that way we can still have Zoe as an aspect in the game. But then we have our new character, Krampus, who gets to come and terrorize people in a Christmas way.
Oh, that's awesome. It's awesome that you guys, have that, like you said, that kind of that foundation to work with. But even then, it's not like, okay, this is, Zoe, just to play off Zoe 1, right? It's like, no, this is a whole other story, like a chapter 2 to what you experienced before, right? And just how everything just flows with it. It's amazing to witness.
It's been a lot of work, but my wife's worked very hard on all of her creative aspects that she can come up with. I throw in my input when I can, but she's got it locked in. I mean, she's got plans for at least 2-3 years of things of changing and adapting to. She's way ahead of schedule. She's already working on what she wants to do in the next room and the room after that. She's got so many ideas. And now that we've built this, we can go in and build any room, whether it's under the Zoe umbrella or just something else entirely. And we can say, hey, we're from the creators of Zoe Reborn. So if you like that game, come play this one. Because we came up with that one. We're coming up with this one. This one's going to be just as epic. And in some of our plans, we don't think we're going to go full contact like we do at Zoe. We do have some that we want to tailor closer to like teenage level, maybe spooky. So that way we can get the demographic of kids to come. I do get kids who play here, but it's very few. We did have a 13-year-old's birthday party, and that was actually surprising. But for the most part, we would like to have like a teen spooky room, but have a lot of cool effects in it. You were talking about all the AI and technology coming in. We do right now. I don't have a single software that runs this. It is all lock and key and things like that. I don't have any mag locks, nothing like that. It's very Gen 1 is what they call that. I have Wi-Fi controlled power outlets that control the lights. I have aux cords that control the sounds that are just really long, things like that. But I do have a friend who owns a different escape room who is going to be building us a software program because I do not know computers, so I cannot build one. But we have a friend, he owns an escape room, and so him and his business partner have worked, and we've had a call, and they're going to be building us a program. So that way we can simplify our chaos a little bit. Because on the customer side, you'd have no idea. You'd have no idea that there's no program. You would think this is all, it runs so smoothly. And it's like, on your side. But we're running back and forth. We're doing different things behind the scenes to make it work. But that software stuff is the future of escape rooms. And so I'm very happy to be getting one soon to help out with some of the complicated things that we have to do. I have 4 different sound systems we run at the same time at any given point in the game. I have 2 MP3 players. I have a phone that's on a switcher so I can play in different rooms. And then I have a whole computer that plays all the speakers. So I have many, many sound systems that are soon going to be one sound system. So, no, but it's been pretty cool. Now, that software is huge. Any company that has software or can get software, like they're going to do well. So that way they can just push start and like not have to worry about it. So that's going to be pretty cool. I mean, we're going to still have more buttons to push, but on the new ones we plan on building, I'm also going to be working with him on software for those. And those are literally going to be like a push play and just let it go, which is going to be pretty cool. It's going to be pretty cool to have that as an option.
So then as an owner and creator, then, you can answer this how you want. Of obviously this is a, like you said, full contact, and in terms of more degrading, like crap your pants, scary, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it could. Yeah.
are you planning on making any, again, maybe not soon, but later in the future, full contact, scary crap your pants rooms, or are you going to kind of branch out into
We're
everything?
we have a lot of different people interested in working with us
Yeah.
because of the work that we've done here. David is a great business partner, and we plan on building rooms with him in the future and continuing to build rooms. We have a few plans. I don't want to get into what they are, but we do have a few plans with him to continue building. One of them being another space potentially here at this building.
Right.
That would be with David, and we worked really hard on that one. But we do have a couple other people interested in working with us, and one of them who wants to work with us is out in Vegas. And he would like a full contact escape room out there, and he'd like to put a bar at the end of it.
Oh, wow.
He's
Awesome.
got some companies out there where he can handle the bar side of it, and
Right.
we can handle the escape room side of it, and
Right.
we'd all make a bunch of money and give people a really, really good time. Because I told some people about it here, and they're like, "Dude, if you had a bar at the end, like this would be the best." Like they're like, "If anything, give me a shot before, like we'll go." You know,
Right.
a few times people are like, "Isn't there a liquor store here? Like we can go get a shot real quick, and then we'll play the room. I think I'll feel safer if I had a shot." And I'll be like, "Sure, dude, go ahead."
Yeah.
I definitely have had groups go get a shot at the liquor store and then come back. So we do have plans for other things. We do have plans for full contact. I don't know if we're going to keep them in California,
Okay.
just because it's been done by us, and I don't want to just have someone go, "Oh, well, this is just another one," right? I do want to be as unique as possible, and so if this one putting it in Vegas would be. That would be far enough away that it would be unique. We did have somebody interested in building a Zoe room actually in Arizona at one point.
Oh, wow.
We don't know where we're at with that guy, but the last I spoke to him, he was interested. I just haven't spoken to him in a while.
Mm-hmm.
But we've had people interested in what we do here. Many people. I've had people play our game, and at the end are like, "Would you like to build a room with me? Because I think this is super cool."
Awesome,
and I'd be
though.
like, "Give me your info. We'll talk about it. We'll sit down. I have no problem talking to people because this business there is competition,
Mm-hmm.
but at the end of the day, we're all there to work with each other if possible. Because once someone's played your room, they're going to go play a different room. If they can come back and play your room a second time or a third time, like that's super cool.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, I've played 200. I have gone back and played rooms before, but I'm always looking for another room. So we should all always be working together to promote each other, and keep promoting good rooms. I mean, if you're like, "Hey, I really enjoy this room. That's the room I'm going to send my customers to." It's not just because someone told me to. I'm going to send people ask me what's my favorite room. I'm going to tell you what my favorite room is. It doesn't matter anything else. And then I have, of course, 57 other rooms that I enjoyed. But if you want my top one, I'll give you my top one. If you want that one, I'll give it to you. It's not scary. But it's good that they can work together. And even if we built a room or someone came to us, wanted to build a room, but then they went off and built their own room, like that's cool. I'm all for it because this is a super cool industry. It's very unique. Not very many people are doing it. There are a lot of escape rooms in Southern California, but it's for the homegrown small business type, it's very unique, and there's not very many that do a good job. So or not. I don't mean that way. A lot of everyone does a good job. I mean, there's not a lot out there for for us not to be working together. I've played so many rooms. I love them all, and I would continue to encourage anybody to build their own room if they want one, for sure. Come up with some ideas, think of something unique, and pick a subject that you like and that you know a lot of, and just run with it. I know that Steamboat Willie Mickey Mouse is becoming public domain in January. So if someone wants to build a Steamboat Willie room, you could do it because it's out there. Just same thing with like Winnie the Pooh. I saw there's a Winnie the Pooh room that just opened, which is pretty cool. I haven't played it yet, but I saw that opened, and that's super cool too. So find something unique and build your own. And I'm going to continue building everything that I can. Because it's not about even the business aspect of it. It's that I enjoy it. I found something that can support my family that I enjoy and I have fun doing, and it makes me happy that customers have such a good time.
Yeah.
Seeing customers buy a t-shirt or coming back over and over again, like whatever. I've had customers come back with the t-shirts on, like they wear them the next time they play.
Yeah.
We had a escape room event in October, October 1st, called the Nerd National Escape Room Day event. It was at some brewery out in Anaheim, and this group of boys showed up. It was like 5 or 6 of them, and they all were wearing the Zoe shirt at the event. And they were just there to just be at the event.
Yeah.
And so they saw us there, and they were all like wearing sweatshirts or whatever. And they saw us, and they're like, "Oh," like, because I recognized them.
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh," and they like all took off their sweatshirts. And so the whole time walking around, they're wearing
Right.
our shirts, and I'm like, that's super cool, dude. Because it means they really enjoyed our room. And that's all that matters.
Yeah.
All I care about is that the customer has like the best time ever.
Right.
They my employees come first, my customers are a close second. I want to make sure they're safe and happy.
Yeah.
We take care of them as much as we can, and then my customers are the close second. They want a special request, they want this, they want that, I'll do it. If it's possible for me to do, I'll do it, as long as they have the best time in the world. That's all that matters to me.
Yeah, and even then, that's such an accomplishment of, not just people recommending your room, but the fact that people are repping your company, right, in a shirt. And then even more so of like, hey, you want to collab, right? That's just, I don't know, it's such an awesome accomplishment that you've obviously achieved.
Yeah, we've worked very hard for it. I know we haven't been open a long time, but we've worked very, very hard to build the room that we wanted, so that way people could be like, wow, like that's the room I want to go play. I want to bring my friends, like you were saying, like when I get a new person to come do an escape room, I want them to be like, I'm taking them to Zoe. Like that's, if you want to do a room, like I'll show you a room. You know what I mean?
Right,
like,
exactly.
I remember having that same like mentality, bringing some of my friends to some different rooms that we played. I'll be like, you want to play a room?
Yeah.
I'll take you to a room.
Right.
We'll go play a cool one.
Exactly.
Even if I've played it, I don't care. We'll go play it again. I'll spend the money. I don't care.
Right.
Especially when it's a scary room, because then you're terrorizing your friends.
Yep.
But yeah, no, it's and I think that we've achieved that with what we have here, and I'm so happy that people have enjoyed it so much. And we started selling footage from their games, so they get all like the camera footage sent to them, and I'm starting to see them pop up on my TikTok and stuff. And someone took the footage we sent them that we already edit and give them all the clips, and then they edited it even more, made it funny.
Yeah.
Their friends are getting terrorized. It was great. But I just saw that like randomly just pop up on my TikTok, like just my personal one, like completely unrelated.
Awesome. Yeah.
And so it was very, very cool to come across that, and that see that people had such a good time and enjoyed it so much. They went out of their way to spend time editing their own video, making it funny. I mean, I know they spent a lot of time on it, because you could tell there's a lot of edits in it, just to post it online so that people could see it. And they basically were advertising for us, which is, but it's still super huge in the fact that they enjoyed the game so much that they got the footage and that they posted it.
Yeah.
And obviously they loved it, and all their comments, and people are like, what the heck is that, dude? Like, that's crazy.
Right.
And so it's huge for us. It's wonderful that people have so much fun doing this, even though it is super scary.
Yeah.
It's very scary.
Yeah. And so then, as a creator, one of the things, the topics I want to talk about is, and you already mentioned that you already saw the footage of what's going on, of just escape rooms that kind of limit you very much so in even taking like an after photo, right? Of like, oh yeah, you guys did it, and most of the times it's not even in the room. A lot of times it's just in the lobby. Yeah. Right. And so kind of what, as a creator, then what is your thought process of like, okay, hey, like let's, people obviously enjoy it. Let's give them something to remember it.
Yeah. Well, we do take a picture in the lobby too.
Right.
Because especially like when we're doing those every hour games, like I can't put you back in the game because there's someone else still playing.
Right.
Most of the time we'll be standing in the lobby, and we'll hear some music go off or a scare go off, and I'll be like, oh, that's the moment that this happens. And they go, oh, I know what they're going through right now.
Right.
And so it's kind of funny. We'll end up sitting there laughing in the lobby, listening to this other group getting scared, because they know exactly where they're at, you know?
Yeah.
And this one lady just yesterday, the day before, she's screaming. And we're all sitting there laughing because we know exactly I told them exactly which scare it was based off the sound that was going off. I'm like, oh, this is happening. And this lady just screaming. And it was great. But they were laughing and enjoying it. And then, we have access to the footage and stuff like that. So we thought, why not let people enjoy that as a souvenir or something like that? If they liked it so much and they want to laugh at their friends being scared and doing crazy stuff, then why not give that to them?
Right.
it's it just takes some time to put the video together. That's about it.
Yeah.
So we go through and we pull all their scares and we compile them into one video.
Yeah.
We leave out all the puzzles and stuff so that
Right.
people do post them. Like my
Right.
puzzles aren't just sitting online on a video.
Yeah.
But all the scares are there. So you'll see them getting dragged out from under the table and the actors all up in their face and stuff and scaring them. And there's half the time you'll see them in the camera, especially that camera. They'll have them dragged out right here on the floor, and the dude's usually smiling because we messed with them and they're laughing and they're like, well, one of our very things that we're infamous for is we take shoes sometimes, and so after the first scare is over, this dude's laughing because his shoe's gone, and we'll be like, guys, are you okay? And they'll respond on the walk-in and be like, yeah, my shoe's gone. And you're like, oh, sorry, I don't know. That happens sometimes.
Right.
So there's always just something for everyone to laugh at.
Yeah.
We tend to try to get everyone at some point.
Yeah.
To mess with each person. So that way too is you go to the end of the video and you want to buy the video. Well, there's something for everyone in the video.
Right.
We tend to do that anyway, just so that we don't hyper focus the same guy the whole game, which
Right.
that happens too sometimes on accident because he
Right.
just happens to be in the wrong position all the time.
Yeah.
But we try to mess with everyone and make different people do different tasks, so that way everyone's involved, and that if you do buy the footage, there's always a moment for you in the game.
Yeah.
It's not just, oh, well, everyone else did something, I just sat in the back.
Yeah.
Even if you're the most terrified person, I know you are, I've been watching you, I will make you do something.
Right.
I'll be like, no, you need to go do that. And they'll be
Right.
like, no. And you're like, yeah,
Yep.
I'll see you later.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh man,
Right.
no one's safe. No one's
Right.
safe. You're all potentially targets for anything.
Yeah.
Except for yesterday, I had a pregnant lady. She was not a target for anything.
Right.
She was like 6 months pregnant.
Oh, dang. Wow.
Yeah, no, she was young, and she was like 6 months pregnant. So we put reflective tape on her because the camera's that lights up like a Christmas tree.
Yeah.
And so I put 2 bands of electric tape or a reflective tape on her arms. And so on the cameras we could see it super well. And anytime our monsters would kind of go after them, we'd be like, nope, not that one, go left, and then they'd go mess with the other one just to leave her alone.
Yeah.
But other than a pregnant woman, no one's safe. We're going after everybody. Everyone's a target.
Right.
You can't hide in the back. We will find you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Thank you for sharing that. As we conclude this episode, can you tell us your top 5 favorite escape rooms in no particular order?
Oh, geez, that's tough. That's tough because there's so many categories and genres.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite room it's called Magic Cottage. It's Infinity Escapes. It's a couple minutes from our location. Super cool tech in that room. Very unique hint system. I met the guy who built it, and the walls are covered in like a fairy wood is like what they're covered, but he carved them all himself. Is what he told us, and I think that's just so cool. And that honestly, I played that room well before becoming an owner, and way before playing, owning Zoe or anything like that. And that honestly, it was an inspiration in the fact of I wanted to build my own, because I was like, that's so cool. Like the stuff he did in that room is crazy. His tech there is immaculate, and so that room was super cool. I very much enjoyed it. Some other favorites, I enjoyed Minotaur out in LA. I've enjoyed Murder Co. up in Upland. There's a rave room. I think it's called the Rave Room. At Rare Moon over in Rancho. That's the first room that actually got me on a jump scare ever, and I actually scared the actor too. It was great. He was hiding behind a door that I was going to close because I was like, oh, he's going to get me, so let me close this door so he doesn't get me. And I closed the door, he's standing behind it. Scared me. Apparently I scared him. It was great. So that was a good room. I enjoyed David's room, the Hide. I always enjoy scary rooms for sure. Quest Tavern in Pomona has a room called Bridge Between. They have a room called Last Supper, which is really good. They have a live actor. But for me, Bridge Between was my favorite room of theirs because it's challenging. I enjoy challenging rooms. If it's not hard, it's tough for me because I'm like, I blow through rooms so fast now. Even Minotaur, which is a 100-minute escape room, our team beat it in 65 minutes.
Wow.
We're very fast.
Right.
So I was just like,
dang.
I like challenging rooms. But all those rooms are really good. And then the last one I throw in there in Vegas, they have It Chapter 1 and Chapter 2. I very much enjoyed the visual effects of that room. The puzzles were designed to be very mainstream puzzles, but I believe that the set design is just immaculate. I mean, they have animatronics in there that are life size, they're huge, they're scary, they have
Yeah.
live actors, they have
Yeah.
so many things in that room. And we drew a couple things of inspiration from them as well. To include like our finale room that I walked you through, we have mulch on the floor, like the rubber mulch. They use that instead of dirt in one of their areas, and so I thought that was pretty cool. So we packed it in. Theirs is a little sparse. Ours is like packed in,
Right.
but that idea just in general came from there, because we played the room. We thought that was super cool. Their employees have come and played our room. They very much enjoyed it. So we're very happy that they have as well. But yeah, those are probably my top. I don't even know how many I listed. Those are like the top rooms that I've played.
Yeah.
They're a lot of fun. They're a lot of fun. And there's a million more. I mean, I could list 100 rooms right now that I would go play again. But those probably are the ones that stand out to me. Oh, Stash House out in LA. That one's a cool one too. I don't know. There's a lot. There's so many. There's so many rooms I could name all day long. Arena. We talked about Arena earlier. That one was super cool. With the shot collar on your neck. That one's fun.
Yeah.
If it hurt, it wouldn't be fun, but it doesn't hurt, so that's fine. But yeah, no, super cool. There's so many escape rooms, and to anybody who would watch this and wants to do escape rooms, like, just do them. Just pick one. You might find some that are better than others, but at the end of the day, like, they're all fun and they're all going to be unique. I've seen every subject you can think of, and I still am seeing new subjects I've never even thought of. So definitely encourage anybody to play escape rooms. They're a lot of fun. They're good. They're a good expensive hobby.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Very expensive hobby. Yeah.
I spent a lot of money on escape rooms.
Yeah.
Because it's my wife and I, so I got to pay for 2 tickets. They've been very expensive. But they're a lot of fun, and I definitely think they're worth every penny, every single one. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Jorin,
Yeah.
for being a guest on our podcast.
I appreciate
For
it.
our listeners out there, if you haven't already, play Zoe Reborn at Escapade.